Okay, so I always forget that button there. So welcome to Cultivating Contentment, which is a meditation series where we're taking a deep dive into the science of satisfaction and building some new neural pathways to uncover some simple home practices to savor the richness of our existing lives. And as you're probably aware, I know this has been inspired by my own um, um, desire to buy secondhand shoes and them never quite filling the hole. And at the end of the last series, the wintering series, one of the members mentioned contentment. Just need to check you can hear me okay. Actually, is that better with the microphone?
Yes.
Okay. So what we're working on is our baseline level of contentment. So rather than constantly seeking or avoiding sensations, finding new sources of happiness and avoiding unhappiness, we're bringing our attention to appreciating the simple joys of everyday life and establishing some baselines. So essentially, we're kind of turning up the volume on the ordinary, and in doing so, we realise quite how extraordinary it is that we're even here, falling awake to our experiences instead of constantly needing to escape from ourselves. And the reality is that our brain is not wired for contentment or satisfaction at any point. I will probably always be looking for the holy grail of perfect shoes, although these are pretty close, to be honest. But it's completely normal and human, and our ancestors worked very hard for us to be where we are now. And that sense of being unsettled and then striving um, for more comforts um, has kind of stayed with us, even though we've kind of reached the pinnacle, I suppose, of comforts within life. I mean, if our ancestors 100 years ago looked at what we had now, light switches, hot water, kettles, they would just, I'm sure they would say, well, they're not, surely we'll be happy then. But we're just not designed that way. So we're wired for survival. So what we've been exploring over the past 4 or 5 weeks is these 4 psychological factors that make satisfaction temporary. And this isn't exhaustive, but these are what I've chosen to base this series around. So unsatisfied people generally struggle with boredom, focus on the negative, ruminate, and get engaged in hedonic adaptation. So that's that constantly buying or sensation seeking. Okay, well, I've got this now. What next? I've been on holiday. Where am I going to go on holiday to next? And so that's what we've been kind of building our mental muscle around. So with boredom, building our tolerance increases our levels of contentment and satisfaction, being able to be bored. Sitting on a train and looking out of the window, not being on a phone, not having to read, not having to eat, those sorts of behaviours. Negativity bias. So we've been training ourselves to deliberately focus on positive experiences to dampen the physiological response to the negative. So when one negative event happens, finding a few neutral or more positive experiences to balance out the stress response that we've had. So this is a physiological way of calming and soothing ourselves. Rumination, acknowledging that it's helpful. It's when we can't get out of that loop that it becomes unhelpful. When we've made a mistake, it's helpful to ruminate, to think about how we can not make that mistake again. But again, it's making sure that we can get off the cycle so it doesn't become unhealthy. And then the hedonic adaptation, so training ourselves to experience renewed joy around what we already have, objects, relationships, recycling what we've already consumed and deriving pleasure from it. Now, last week, in terms of relationships, we looked at negativity bias and rumination. And today we're going to explore relationships from a boredom and hedonic adaptation perspective. So just a quick recap on that. So we're looking at relationships today, and this is a journey of growth, understanding, and mutual compassion. So relationships require constant communication, empathy, and compromise between individuals with unique perspectives, needs, and expectations. Balancing these differences while maintaining mutual respect and love can and is difficult, but it's also what makes relationships rewarding and transformative. Our relationships can serve as a powerful mirror, offering insights into our inner world and helping us understand ourselves better. They reveal our strengths and areas of growth, making them a vital part of our personal development. So we're kind of shining a bit of a mirror on ourselves. So these are the home practices that we've already had. And last week, the invitation was to look at relationships in terms of your experience around a stranger and someone you love. Now today, we're going to be looking at friendships and objects. So we're going to start with a kind of more exciting topic for the brain, and then ease our way into a slightly more dull element of the practice, so that that boredom element. But it should be interesting. So be interested. You're interesting. This is you get to be an impartial witness of yourself here. So let's. Oh, I'm on voice isolation. So making sure that you're comfortable. We'll begin and end with the bells, and there'll be a poem before we move into the tea. So taking a moment to arrive and having a sense of taking your seat, checking in with your posture, elongating your spine, having a sense of taking a moment to notice the points of contact that you're making with the earth. And letting go of any tension or tightening that you might notice in your forehead, your jaw, the shoulders, any of your personal hotspots. And just a reminder that follow my guidance only if it feels right for you. This is really important. We're learning to listen and pay attention to our bodies, learn their language, spot the cues and signs that it sends us that often go so ignored, that can have a big impact on our well-being. So if my guidance doesn't feel right for you, honouring that. So with that in mind, an invitation to find an anchor for the practice. So if there are parts of the practice that you're feeling uncomfortable, that you can bring yourself here and ground yourself in the present moment, noticing textures and sensations. So it might be the breath. It might be a point within the body that's neutral, that has no stories to it. The heel of your left foot, your right earlobe, the crown of your head. Just finding a spot that you can anchor yourself. So when your mind has wandered, or there are parts of the practice that you're not wishing to be with today, that you can bring yourself here, weaving this into the meditation. And then once you've found that anchor, bringing your awareness back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out, not changing the rhythm in any way, simply being with the breath. And I invite you to just take a moment to take an internal weather report. How are you today? Tired, hungry, thirsty, happy, sad, bored? Once you've found it, dropping into the sensation. So leaving the story behind and exploring what you notice in the body of that. You can scan from your feet, through your legs, your back, your belly, your arms, your head. Just checking in with each nook and cranny. There will be quiet parts and there'll be noisy parts. And then returning your awareness back to your breath, having noticed these feelings that are felt within the body. They're not just these thoughts in our prefrontal cortexes, that in our forehead where we spend most of our days. We're expanding our awareness into our bodies. Now we're just going to be deliberate with our breath. So an invitation to breathe into the count of 4 and breathe out to the count of 5, 6, 7 or 8, up to you, within your range. It's not a competition. And then returning your breath to a natural, comfortable, easy rhythm for you, as best you can through the nose. And now we're just going to pop briefly into our prefrontal cortexes. And I want you to think of a friend, a long-term friend that you've had, and the time that you first met them. You could go way back into childhood or teenagehood or your 20s, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s. It could be somebody fairly new, or it could be long-term friend. But you've known them a good while. And I want you to think back to that first time that you met them. And now, sticking with the person that you picked, an invitation to drop into the space of your body. So holding this person in your mind's eye and those moments when you first met, those first few weeks or months of friendship. What can you notice in your body this if this memory? There's information being sent from the brain into the body. Can you notice any of it? More vivid areas tend to be around the face and the heart and the belly. Can you notice any textures, colours, shapes, movements, temperatures, sounds, maybe even tastes? You might not notice anything. What's that nothingness? Exploring each nook and cranny of your body. So you hold this memory in your mind's eye of this friendship. What's interesting? What's not interesting? And then an invitation to return your awareness back to your breath. Perhaps breathing in for 4 and extending that out breath a few times as we return our awareness back to our bodies, as we practice widening and narrowing the lens of our attention. If your mind wanders back into that story, just gently guiding yourself back to the breath. And now an invitation to bring your awareness back to your prefrontal cortex, just briefly, to think about your friendship now. So you can immerse yourself in the story just for a few more moments. And then dropping into the felt sensation of what you notice in your body. So leaving the story to one side as best you can. And exploring your body, what you notice here. You might want to start with your head, your face, your neck, shoulders, arms, hands, the back, your belly, your legs and your feet. Just exploring your body and your experience of this mental event, this mental picture of this friend. The felt sensation of holding them in your mind's eye, textures, movements, colours. Each time your mind wanders back into the story, gently guiding yourself back or bringing your awareness to your anchor. And then narrowing your awareness back to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And now I want you to bring into your mind's eye a friend that you're no longer friends with. You drifted apart, you fell out. Just a few more moments here. And then let's move our awareness away from the story and into the felt sensation of what we notice in our bodies. Heaviness, lightness, shapes, colours, textures, movements. This person that we once cared for and they cared about us. We may no longer know their stories. What are the felt sensations within your body? Being interested and curious in you and your experiences, your felt and direct experiences in this moment. And then just as we brought our attention here, we're going to move it away and back to the breath. Again, an invitation to extend the out breath if that feels right for you. And then stepping back into the prefrontal cortex, we're going to pick an easy friend. Someone that we don't have to call. We might not see them for years and it feels exactly the same each time we see them. Easy, comfortable friendship. Could be the same as the first person. Don't need to flit through every memory. Just picking somebody. And then dropping into the felt sensation of that within the body. What can you notice? What's quiet? Being with yourself as you are, exploring some of the stories that you house in this body. And now I'm going to invite you to bring in a few friends. So those friends that you can send a message to and they'll help out. You might not be particularly close. Neighbours that you can borrow a cup of sugar from. That person who will come and feed your cats when you're away. The people that might pop up on your social media that you have little chats with every now and again. You might have a handful of people, you might have a room full of people. All these people kind of pop in that you think of. Kind of like bubbles floating in a glass of fizzy water. They're not particularly exciting friendships. All these people. And then an invitation to drop into the felt sensation. All these people that you have in your life that are there for the small things, that are quite big things. Now let's gather everyone together. So you've got these friends here, adding in the friend that you're no longer friends with, the really easy friendship, and that first friendship that you picked. They're holding all of these people in your mind's eye. An invitation to place a hand on your heart and one on your belly, where you can visualize these movements. And you can say these words out loud or internally. May you be well. May you live with ease. May you be content. And may you be kind to yourself and to others. It's like you're saying it to them. May you be well. May you live with ease. May you be content. And may you be kind to yourselves and to others. May you be well. May you live with ease. May you be content. And may you be kind to yourselves and to others. And now I want you to introduce yourself into this group too. May we all be well. May we all live with ease. May we be content. And may we be kind to ourselves and to each other. May we all be well. May we live with ease. May we be content. And may we be kind to ourselves and to each other. May we all be well. May we live with ease. May we be content. And may we be kind to ourselves and to each other. And then just resting for a few more moments. That sensation of that word. And now I want you to bring into your mind's eye an object, a fairly dull but very useful object, and your relationship with that. Wouldn't even cross your mind to think about this object. I don't know, a teaspoon, a toothbrush, something that you use every day. That's been crafted, made by somebody somewhere that you'll never meet, that you'll never know their story. The products that we use to make it, the energy that was consumed, the person that drove it, how it got to be in your house, used regularly. Now we're going to drop from that story and into the felt sensation of this within our bodies. Now, this isn't as interesting for the mind. But as best you can, bringing your attention to your felt and direct experience of what you notice in your body as you explore the felt and physical sensations of holding this in this fairly neutral, ordinary object in your mind's eye. Checking in with your posture. Are the sensations pleasant or unpleasant or neutral? What is it to be you? The most part of our days are filled with these neutral and ordinary experiences with objects. Most of our interactions are with acquaintances. And these small moments make up our lives and often go so unnoticed. That lost friendships can take up far more space in our minds than the friends that we have, the people that are there for us. The objects that we desire can take up our thoughts, and not the objects that we have that make our life so convenient and comfortable. Convenient. So, an invitation to place a hand on your heart and one on your belly. We'll close with the most challenging person for most of us, which is ourselves. May I be well. May I live with ease. May I be content. And may I be kind to myself and to others. May I be well. May I live with ease. May I be content. And may I be kind to myself and to others. May I be well. May I live with ease. May I be content. And may I be kind to myself and to others. And then just resting for a few more moments. The ecstatic poems of Kabir. I said to the wanting creature inside me, "What is this river you want to cross? There are no travellers on the river road and no road. Do you see anyone moving about on the bank or resting? There is no river at all and no boatman and no boat. There is no tow rope either and no one to pull it. There is no ground, no sky, no time, no bank, no ford. And there is no body and no mind. Do you believe there is some place that will make the soul less thirsty? In that great absence you will find nothing. Be strong then, and enter into your own body. There you have a solid place for your feet. Think about it carefully. Don't go off somewhere else." Kabir says this: just throw away all thoughts of imaginary things and stand firm in that which you are. So moving and stretching in whatever way you probably ignored within that practice. We're just going to move to take tea together. So this is an invitation to bring some movement, mindful movement. Look at the colours and shapes and textures and these activities that we take for granted. These objects. So you can see if you don't have tea, I have some verveine for you. If I can open my thing. It's verbena in English, I think. So if you don't have tea, I have a cup for you. And this is what the plant looks like. So I'm going to pause the recording here. For those of you practicing in your own time, an invitation to journal or simply sit and reflect on your direct experience of that practice, what you noticed. Was there anything interesting that came up for you? Okay, so let's have a look at this week's home practices. So we're building on from, we've got an accumulation of tasks here now. So you're training your boredom tolerance, you're being playful with negativity bias, coming up with those positive or more neutral experiences to counterbalance the stress of the negativity bias. The hedonic adaptation, those sensory experiences of ordinary activities, drinking a cup of tea mindfully, these things that we can do on autopilot on our phones and things. And then the rumination. So that regular 3-part breathing space, which we'll practice in a moment. And if you're practicing it regularly, when you are ruminating, it's more easy to access this technique. Okay. And noting in those experiences what's useful and what's necessary for me to take from this. Okay. So last week we began looking at contentment around relationships, and today we looked at friendships and an object. So the invitation this week is, again, you can do this 10-minute regular practice each day, and then in your day-to-day experiences, dropping into the body and the experiences you notice when you're with a stranger or with someone you love, a friend, an object that you love. Okay, so those relational responses that we have to our things, and you can play around with this. Play around with the people that you pick. We're noticing, we're not fixing or changing. So if you do have any questions or any concerns or queries, that if anything comes up for you within the practices, please do reach out. But let's close with that 3-part breathing space. Okay. If you have the tendency to do this with your eyes closed, I'm going to invite you to do it with your eyes open, because then this becomes more available to you in ordinary life, like the supermarket queue or even driving in the car, or just out and about with people. Okay, and it can be done fairly quickly. So we can use it as a quick pause button before we react to situations. Okay, so noticing the points of contact that you're making with the earth, having a soft gaze in front of you, elongating your spine, that dignified and elegant posture, honouring this body that houses our stories. And then an invitation to bring your awareness to your breath, breathing in and breathing out. And if you want to, you can extend that out breath. And then returning your breath to its natural rhythm and expanding your awareness to include all of your body. So you breathing here, having a sense of where do you begin and where do you end. And as best you can, taking the sense of connection and awareness into whatever you have left to do with your day. Just taking a moment to think about what you need to do next. What does your body need for you to do next? Can you take some time to honour that? Stretch, drink some water, go for a walk, eat something. And please do reach out if anything has come up from you within the practice. Thank you for joining me. Have a great week.